welcome to That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Today, my guest is Ron Carucci. He is the co-founder and managing partner at Navalent, where they work with CEOs and executives pursuing transformational change for their organizations, leaders, and industries. He's also the author of 8 books, including an Amazon bestseller, Rising to Power. And today we're going to be talking about what it takes to get that business out of startup and get it into growth mode. So Ron, welcome to the program today.
Jamie, so great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So first, tell us a little bit more about your background in Navalent.
Sure. So we're a 13-year-old boutique consulting firm. We were started by a few friends of us who came out of a big consulting firm where we felt like our passion for organizations and our passion to solve tough problems for leaders was being tested by the need to constantly generate revenue and be good partners. And so we thought, well, we can keep the dream alive and do what we love to do by starting our own firm. So we did that 13 years ago.
And your business just went through the same cycles as all the other businesses, startup to growth and development. But you figured out some of those details that people need to know to get those businesses off the ground. I know I've talked with some 2,000 different business owners, and a lot of them struggle where they do something good, but they don't know how to delegate and they don't know how to grow. So let's say I come to you, I've got a great operation going, but I'm just one man and I just can't get it off the ground. I can't seem to grow. How would you approach that?
Well, usually there are 3 questions that I feel like most entrepreneurs don't know how to ask. And they usually hear these questions as, oh, well, that's for big officially established companies. That's not for startups. And it's a flawed assumption. The first one is a question of direction or strategy. And when I ask entrepreneurs, tell me why customers would choose you over somebody else. Who is it they're choosing among? Who would they define as your competitive set, and why are you better?
Do you find a lot of people know who their competition is and can answer that question? Because I think a lot of people don't put that type of thought into what they're doing in the beginning.
Jamie, they don't. They assume that if I build it, they will come. If I make it, they will come. If I think it, they will want it. And the sad reality is often they're great ideas. They're great services, they're products, they deserve a shot in the marketplace. But in today's very cluttered world and market of a lot of people with a lot of really good ideas, that's not enough.
The idea of build it and they will come. I have that mentality too. I just want to do something and people come to me. You got to go out and still hunt. You still got to go shop for the business.
Well, the business development is the important muscle, but people don't know. People just assume if they just spray and pray, customers will come. You have to know who you're selling to, why they would buy it, why they would choose you, and how you're better, and really invest in making yourself differentiated in a way that is focused. The second question they never ask is one of organization. So, you watch a startup human being. A startup human being is going through constant mitosis. Our cells are always dividing, from the time you're born to the time you're 3 or 4. Well, in a new organization, your work is constantly dividing. It's constantly mitosising. But most leaders don't know how to divide that work. They just keep adding bodies, or they retain the work. So you have a leader who's now playing at all levels of the organization, making decisions he should no longer or she should no longer be making. And so they don't know how to divide the work and organize the work to deliver on that strategy. And the third question is one, of course, of leadership. They don't know how to lead an enterprise. You go from 1 person to 5 people to 20 people. You've now, that's a 200% growth in your number of people in your employee base. And suddenly you got a lot of complexity to manage. And if you don't know how to orchestrate that work, you're going to be running around with a chicken without a head doing all of it, and no one is minding the future.
I always wonder, when is it the right time to recognize that maybe you aren't the person to lead the ship and you should step out and let somebody else take the helm? Do you advise on that?
Well, it's a great question, Jamie. Most leaders never want to assume that their baby has outgrown them. But if you're going to be pursuing funding, if you're going to want investors' money, and so you're going for your Series A money or you're going for your MVP money, and you're really in that game, you better be sure that those folks are going to be asking before they write a big check, are you the girl? Are you the guy? And if you're not, they're going to want to bring in their own folks. So, if you really want to go the distance with your baby, you need to prepare yourself. It isn't enough to have a good idea or a good product or service. You have to be the right leader who can lead from startup to grow up and prepare the people below you for the same thing. One of the most painful moments in any startup is when they start to really grow and they don't have anybody else, but the startup team can't take on broader work and they have to be layered over. And that's a painful moment, and it can be avoided.
Right, and these people are coming into jobs that don't have a predefined job description. It's like, I just need help with this. That's usually what that first hire is. I just need help doing that. And so they got to kind of define the job for themselves. Would you advise before they make that first hire that they really sit down and think about that first hire and fill out a real job description?
That's a great question, Jimmy. I would absolutely advise before you make a hire, and you're absolutely right. It's always the fire that I have today I need put out. Think about that. What is that work going to look like in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years? Because it won't look the same. And so be hiring for a longer view, not just the fire I need put out today or the work I need off my plate today, but be thinking about where's that work going to go? Where's that skill set going to be required to go? And do I have somebody that can go with it? Because if you only have a great firefighter today, what are they going to do once the fire's out?
So how do you know when to make that first hire, though? Because, I mean, people, that's a scary time in a business. Now you're getting all involved in the human resources. How do you know when to make that first hire?
It really is based a little bit on demand. So do you have a predictable set of demand for what you're doing in terms of how you want to grow the business you're delivering and to where you want to grow it? And then organization design is a science, and you have to learn to design the work. So there's 3 types of work in an organization. There's what we call competitive work. There's the work that you invest $1 in it, $5 comes in the door. And that's the work that really sets you apart. There's competitive enabling work. There's the work that's just next to that supports it. And then there's what we call necessary work. I have to do it on parity with everybody else, but I don't have to be better than everybody else at it. And it's important that work stays separate. The person you talked about hiring, just get this done for me, that's the person that's going to mix the necessary work with the competitive work. And it all gets diluted. And so the first thing an entrepreneur needs to do is sit down and sort out, where does that work belong? How does my competitive work, the work that really gets me chosen by customers, need to be protected? I need my best talent for that. That's where I need to write the bigger checks. And I have to organize to be the best at it that I can be. The necessary work needs to be organized for efficiency. The maximum number of outputs with the minimum number of people doing it. And with technology and efficiencies, just get it done. And then my competitive enabling work is in the middle that supports getting my competitive work done. If I sit down and think about where that work goes, my important hires need to come from my competitive work. But what gets the attention of most entrepreneurs is the necessary work, because it's the forms that aren't getting done. It's the Series A business plan that's not getting done. It's the just get the orders out the door, just answer the phone. And so I put bodies against that, and I don't mind the store of my competitive work. And then when it comes to really grow, I don't have anybody that really is terrific, even better than me, at the work that really sets me apart.
Do you find that some people are just kind of fearful of growth? I know myself, I am fearful of growth. I'm comfortable in my own little zone. And, I get nervous when I start to bring in people. Do you think that fear comes into play, maybe whether they know it or not?
Oh, I absolutely think it's a great question and insight, Jamie. Absolutely. Most entrepreneurs are afraid of their own shadow because they fear failure. They're so ambitious. They're so driven to succeed that their fear of their own failure can be paralyzing to them sometimes. And so that's what they use to rationalize why no one but me could possibly do this, or we're not ready. We don't need anybody else. We got this. And so you hear them self-justifying their own sabotage of their own growth. And I've watched so many entrepreneurs preside over their own demise because they won't let go, because they're terrified.
Do you see a certain type of person? You've worked with many different people at Navalent. Do you see a certain type of personality that tends to grow and a certain type that stays behind and just keeps doing the same thing by themselves, or maybe they get an employee or something? But I always try to understand, like, how did Mark Zuckerberg grow to Facebook like he did? If I'd had that idea, it probably would have never left my dorm room, even if I had built the network just like he had built it. I just don't understand how they build such amazing organizations.
I think first there's a level of sort of an intensive blend between confidence and humility, right? I have a deep passion and belief in this thing I built, but I don't have such an ego that I need. My identity doesn't become so tied to this thing I built that I have to go with it, right? So I can separate out myself from the idea, and I can see the idea as bigger than me. And I think that leader is the one that's able to invest in the idea, invest in the service or the product.
But something like, a major organization, and I'm just using Facebook as an example. I mean, that's a major example. But when they bring in outside funding, do the investors kind of take the helm and say, listen, we're going to grow this company. We're going to start putting the people in place. It's our money. Yes, you're the CEO, you're the founder, but we're going to drive the ship for a while. Does it happen like that?
Sometimes it does. If you're going for your Series B money, right? So you've gotten through Series A, you've proven the viability of your product or your service, and now you're going for the big check. A lot of the Series B private equity money or the venture capital money will definitely want to say, because they're going to have seats on your board, they're going to have seats at the table, and they're going to look at you and think, if you're not the one that's going to make me the most money, I don't want you. And a lot of times they'll make a condition of funding replacing the CEO or replacing the leadership team. Again, that's avoidable if you think about it in advance. But for the most part, your investors are going to want to have a say in who's holding the keys to their own future financial wealth.
And when you get into this market of investment, this is not an area that I have any experience in. What type of prep work goes into getting ready to approach investors? You need a business plan, and what all goes into that?
Well, yes, if you're going to approach investor money, you better have a great strategy. Not just the business plan. You can Google that, business plan templates, and they always have the same basic questions about demand and sales and margins and a financial look at your picture. And that's helpful. I think what really impresses investors is when you've really thought through the long-term picture. You've really thought through a strategy. You've really thought through differentiation. And you know how much you're asking for and why, and you know what you're going to do with it when you get it. So many investors are asking for these big ticket checks and assuming that it's good. Now I'm going to hire a bunch of bodies, which a lot of times the hiring part is necessary, but that isn't all you're investing in. And so a lot of times investors won't even look at you if it looks like you're just winging it.
Currently talking to Ron Carucci, managing partner with Navalent, and you can learn more about them at navalent.com. That's Navalent, navalent.com. When we come back for the break, we'll talk a little bit more about what it takes to get that investment capital. That's a number one question that people want to know. Where can I get money to grow my business? So we'll talk to him, get some more insight on that, hear from him some examples of some people that he's helped. He's worked with a variety of different CEOs, Fortune 500 CEOs, a lot of different people. We'll talk with him when we come back from the break a little bit more on That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney. Or business becomes show business. And welcome back to That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. My guest today is Ron Carucci, managing partner with Navalent. And Ron, in that last segment, we were talking about the three questions that you always start with when you're talking about business owners. Let's elaborate on those a little bit more.
Sure. Great. So one of the things I would love every entrepreneur to do is for them to examine from the outside in their business. So if you have customers who are calling you, if you've opened up a shop or you're scaling a digital business, why are customers choosing you? And most entrepreneurs fail to see the obvious opportunity in front of them, which is go ask them why. Because so often the value you're creating isn't the value they're buying. You think it's a great technological product. For them, it's about convenience or ease of use or about being able to solve a problem they have. And so defining your value by how your customers are paying for it is such a critical element of understanding strategy. So my first question to entrepreneurs is, tell me why you're winning. Tell me why you have a right to win. Name for me the three capabilities that you have to be and stay great at more than anybody else. The second one then is of organization. So once I know what it is people are paying for, once I know why it is I've got demand out there in the market and what I need to go pursue, how do I go find those same kinds of people who tell me that I'm solving their problem? I now have defined a swim lane for myself. I've defined this is where I can win and really have a sweet spot. What's the work? How do I begin to divide the work up to understand what's the work that really drives impact in that swim lane? What's the work that supports it? And again, what's the work that I just got to, I got to get the bills paid. I got to get payroll done. I got to get salespeople with the right tools. I got to get just the basic stuff done. How do I quarantine that work so it doesn't take the attention away from my competitive work? And then begin to design how many bodies do I need for that? Who should lead it? What kinds of leadership muscles do I need to guide that work so I can step back out of playing the first chair violin and onto the conductor's podium and actually conduct the whole orchestra as I add more instruments to it.
When businesses fail, in your experience, the ones that you work with, why are they failing? Is it that people just refuse to adapt to change, or is it just the product or the idea just wasn't meaty enough to carry it in the market?
So often, Jamie, failure can come from a lot of things, right? Sometimes it's just bad luck. But a lot of times when I walk into an organization that has scaled and grown, so they get to 80 million, they get to 120 million, they get to 250 million. But often what I find is I have a $250 million company trapped in the body of a $30 million organization. So they grew, but they didn't scale. So they added more work, they added more bodies, they certainly added more revenue, but they added revenue at the same degree they added cost. And so they didn't really think through the mitosis of the organization. And so now you walk in, you can just hear the seams ripping in the organization. You can hear the G-force choking the life out of people because they just are running around like jacks of all trade, masters of none, just trying to keep the lights on. The classic one, I got the call from Costco. I got the call from Walmart, right? We got an order. And now I'm in a whole other, I'm no longer in a swim lane in a pool. I'm now swimming in the ocean with the big sharks. And I'm still, got a warehouse that I rented down the street with 2 lines in it, and I can't produce enough to get out. And I got to go outsource it. I got to find a co-manufacturing solution. I got to do something else just to keep up. And all of my margin, all of my competitive distinction, I'm now hemorrhaging because I didn't prepare for growth. And so by learning how to scale. So most leaders don't understand the importance of disciplined scaling as a part of growth.
When people begin to approach investors for capital infusion into their business, what's that marketplace like out there? And you used a few terms, Series A, Series B. Can you kind of explain that for entry-level entrepreneurs?
Sure. Well, and I would just say, Google any private equity, find out who the private equity investors are in your city or near you, because local ones you have a better shot at getting their money if you're going to be setting up your business in your city. But so in entrepreneur worlds, venture capital, there's stages of money, right? So you sort of, as a stage gate process, earn your right to ask for some money. You have angel investors who will give you seed money to just get your idea. They believe in you. They believe in your brilliance. Certainly, if you have a track record of successful startups where you've grown it and exited in some way, where you've sold it or you've gone public or something, that's certainly attractive. But usually they're looking for the right entrepreneur, not just the right business. And most venture capitalists specialize in certain industries, or they specialize in certain types of businesses. But find out where the funders are in your swim lane.
Yeah, like in our area, Florida Funders is a resource, floridafunders.com. But it seems like the appetite is almost entirely technology. Is there a marketplace for investors outside of technology that is as broad as what tech investors are looking for right now?
Well, so I think what investors want to invest in is the future, right? Ideas that will be disruptive, ideas that will certainly have long tails on them. And so, yes, technology happens to be a sector, but it's a broad sector. It can be an app on a phone, can be cybersecurity, can be a new software package, can be lots of things. So most products and services today certainly are going to have some digital component of it, because look at what Amazon's doing to retail, right? So certainly if you walk in with an idea about a new bricks and mortar retail shop, it's going to be hard to get funding if you don't show me the digital component of that. So I think for an entrepreneur today, there's some attachment to some digital reality for your work because that's just the world today.
There's also the option of crowdfunding. The Jobs Act opened up the availability of investors of all levels to be able to get involved in your idea or your product. And so have you had anybody that you've ever worked with use crowdfunding as a platform?
I've seen songwriters or artists raise money that way. I've seen people who've got really niche products where they just need a couple $100,000 get money that way, and it's fun. It's great that the world has begun to level the playing field for access to opportunity with access to funding that way. It's great when people just want to give their money so generously to a person or to an idea or to a cause. Often there's a cause attached to what the person's doing that people believe in, and that we have the internet, we have a digital platform out there that neutralizes finding it, right? So I think that's really fun to watch human ingenuity and human endeavor find a path to a great future because people out there want to participate.
Now, I see you're an author of 8 books. You're also a contributor to Forbes and featured in Fortune magazine, CEO magazine. How have you been able to make those connections? Because that influence is a big part of growing a business, and so those add to your level of influence. How were you able to make those connections?
I hired a coach about 2.5 years ago. I had reached a place where in my own entrepreneurial life where I felt like I wasn't reaching the kinds of clients I wanted to reach. So I hired a coach. And there's lots of great information out there on digitizing, monetizing your content, monetizing your thought leadership, how to be entrepreneurial. Great book coming out by Dory Clark next week called Entrepreneurial You, all about how it is you monetize your own content and have multiple income streams. And so, I met people with connections to the editors, to those, to HBR, I write regularly for, to Forbes. You have to have your own digital platform. If you want to demonstrate the efficacy of your own ideas, we have a blog at Navalent. We are constantly demonstrating our own thought leadership because the idea is that I want clients that I want to serve reading about my ideas and our firm's ideas to understand that we can solve the problems they're solving. So we write about the stuff we believe that they're challenged with, so they can see that, hey, these guys have some ideas that I've faced. Maybe they can help me.
And you can find their blog again, navalent.com. What's the frequency of your blog? Because I know I'm always talking this program about being an influencer and getting out there writing one way or another. How do you time your blog? What's the frequency on that?
We as a firm, we share the load. So all of us are writers for the blog. We have a quarterly magazine. If you want to come to www.navalent.com, we have a great quarterly magazine we'd love to share with you for free, called the Navalent Quarterly, and it's all kinds of great articles and studies on leadership and organizations and agility, and you can get all the back issues to download. If you come to navalent.com/transformation, we have a free ebook for you and your readers on how to lead transformation. How do I lead growth in an organization? What do I have to be thinking about? So come and hang out with us for a while and see what we're offering. But so our blog is every 2 weeks. And then our Navalent Quarterly is once a quarter. So we have an aggregation of our blog posts once a month. So we make it convenient for readers to not have to come to the website all the time. They just get it in their inbox. And we also share articles that we're reading. So things that we find interesting, things we're finding useful out there in the world. We're also aggregating and curating some of that content for others as well.
A couple minutes left. Navalent, who do you specialize in dealing with? Who's your niche client that you like to work with?
So usually it's some type of leader, a CEO or an executive running a division or a business unit that's hit a ditch, that's somehow got some major obstacle or major opportunity in front of them, but they don't have a pathway to get there. And so we are the partners that come alongside that leader, and often for a longer period of time, to help them architect a strategic journey, an organizational journey, a leadership journey for how do I get the transformation I need to get from here to there. And what are all the things I need to think about? What are all the landmines that are going to be in my way that I need to circumnavigate? And how do I bring along all the people with me to make sure we all get there successfully?
Well, good discussion. Ron Carucci, managing partner with Navalent. Thank you so much for being on the program today.
Jamie, so great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And learn more and follow their blog, Navalent.com. New programs air each weekday morning, 9 a.m. on thatbusinessnetwork.com. And please connect with us all across social media, facebook.com/thatbusinessshow, where each show is streamed also in the morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And connect with us on Twitter @thatbizshow. And also you can find all these shows on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. Thatyoutubechannel.com is the URL that will easily redirect to our YouTube channel. Again, thatyoutubechannel.com. You've been listening to That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.